So blessed and grateful and just really humbled to have Ashleigh Clutterbuck join me today. Thank you so much, Ashleigh, for being here.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
All the way from New Zealand.
Little old Christchurch. Yeah. We're a bit smaller.
Oh, I absolutely love it in New Zealand. It's stunning, and I can't wait to get back there at the end of the year. But Ashleigh, today is about you. You're going to be sharing so many insights into your journey, where you are also at now, and just what led you to your success as a BDM. So, for those that do not know you, though, tell us who is Ashleigh?
Um, I am 31. I started in property management 10 years ago, started as an assistant property manager and worked my way up into managing a portfolio. So I did manage that for 5.5 years and then moved into the BDM role with reignite. So I spent quite a lot of time with them growing and learning and understanding different roles in property management. And recently just started my own business, THG Property Management. So that's really exciting. And when I'm not at work, I do a bit of Walker Armour and I've got a German Shepherd and I like being outside and near the water. So yeah, that's a bit about me.
I love that. And massive congratulations, firstly. It's so exciting, and many will be cheering you on from the sidelines, I'm sure. I'm also a lover of being by the water, so it's just very calming and grounding. And I think that's important, especially with the roles, especially high performing roles like BD and sales, that we have our things that make us happy. So, like your dog and being by the water. So, I love that you take some time out aside from all the things that are going to be filling up your days, but it's going to be really fulfilling for you. So, well done, Ashleigh.
Thank you.
I've been following you for a while, and off air, I told you what I was really impressed was how you show up in your marketplace. And I only saw this digitally and online and social media. So I was like, I really want to dig deep into this because I can only imagine and I can and visualize then how this showed up when you were having conversations with people and also when you're talking on the phone or your newsletters or things that you were sharing internal. So the content that you shared was absolutely incredible. How do you stay so connected and educated in your marketplace?
Um, I guess I'm lucky in terms of like I am quite an inquisitive person, but I'm also like because I've come from managing a portfolio, I'm not a super trusting person either. Like it takes me quite a bit. It takes me a bit to get there with people, and so for me, I sort of took a step back and I thought about our values and what we were trying to portray to our clients, which was that we wanted to be trusted and we wanted to have good integrity and a good credibility, but how do we do that without being just a sleazy salesperson who's telling you that we're amazing and incredible? You've got to be able to show that. And so um, I started looking at the numbers a bit more, and I can't stand turning up somewhere and if someone asks me a question I don't know the answer. So I wanted to go into my presentations with clients really prepared. And I would say most of my business was one off just knowing the market and understanding what what we were looking for in terms of a tenant or what their property was, who their property was going to attract, and things like that. Um, I think it puts people at ease when you can say to them, well, look, hey, I know that there's actually 20 other 4-bedroom properties in the area. So for us to get your property rented quicker, we need to focus on this. Or maybe there's only 2 or 3 properties, so we might be able to try, test the market out at a high price. Things like that. It just means that people can trust, your knowledge, which is what they're essentially paying you for.
Yeah, I love that. So I think some key things that I just took away from there is first of all, you identified your values, which I think is so important for a BDM to understand the values and what the business is trying to represent, first of all. Trust, integrity, credibility. I think when we're looking to do business with other businesses or people, for sure, that's what we look for. So we need to be able to make that shine and stand out in our marketplaces because we know that that's what our clients will want from us. Your preparation, the fact that I remember that you did a post, and the content was about how many four-bedroom homes were in your marketplace versus three-bedroom homes. And I thought that type of information and education and value piece for someone who's looking to either purchase an investment property in that area or that they're getting ready to put a four-bedroom home property in that area was so valuable for that client. And it's very rare, Ashleigh, that I see that type of content go out. So I was like, wow, this is incredible and definitely makes you stand out in your marketplace. So yeah, well done again on that.
Thank you. Yeah, I think like I love working with people right from the very beginning, like before they even purchase an investment property. And the reason I like doing that is because I think a lot of people will quite often just go and purchase a property and not think about it. And so like I started getting all these calls like, oh, what's a good area in Christchurch to buy in? And it's sort of like, well, it'd be easy to say St Albans is a great area to buy in, but if you're buying a two-bedroom property in St Albans, then you're going up against
Mm.
40 other two-bedroom properties in St Albans. So it's about knowing what type of stock in which area, and actually understanding that market, because it's one thing to look at the numbers, but to really understand how that's going to affect you and the long-term goals for your property. That's,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. And on that, Ashleigh, I think it's our responsibility as BDMs to get the best possible price for our landlords. And that is usually one of the main things that is on a landlord's mind when it comes to looking at putting their property on the market, as well as finding a really great renter. So it's great that you're able to already anticipate that that's going to be on their mind. So if you're looking to maximize your rent on your investment and get the best possible highest price, then let's look at what's actually happening in your marketplace and essentially who your competitors are, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not just about doing your CMA based on the last couple of months within 500 meters. Like, well, let's look at what's happening right now and anticipate what's happening in the market in the future. So I think that's really great advice. And would you say that in your experience as being a BDM, do you think that knowing your market has contributed to the success that you've had as a BDM then?
Yeah, like I'm probably quite soft in terms of how I approach it. Like there's BDMs in Christchurch that I go up against, and they're like cutthroat. They will ask for the business. They're very good at just being like, well, why haven't you, why won't you sign, or getting them to sign on the dotted line when they turn up. And I'll always try and do that, but I am probably a lot more soft than a lot of BDMs. And so I kind of had to find a way for me to get it across the line. So if I went up against another BDM for business, I could be a little bit cheeky and be like, well, hey, if I was choosing a property manager for my company, for my property, then I would want to know that they know what their arrears rate is, what their vacancy rate, what is, how many days on market it's going to be sitting for, so that you can plan for that. And if they don't know those numbers, to me, that's a problem, because they're either not telling you because they're not good, or they're not telling you because they're not aware of what's going on, and they should be across all of that.
Mm.
So I think that sort of gave people the ability to know that, okay, well, all I have to do is make sure I ask these three BDMs who are coming through my property the same question, and they'll quickly weed themselves out, the ones who, I don't have to do it. I don't want to have to, say anything about anybody else. I don't want to win business that way. So
Yeah.
if they do it themselves, then it's great.
I think that's also really great, Ashleigh, that you were able to identify strengths of yours and also perhaps a weakness, which you turn into a strength though. So you're like, okay, that's potentially not going to work for me because that's not my style, but because I'm not comfortable doing that style because that's not me, this is how I'm going to incorporate in my conversations with people on how to win business so I don't have to do that hard close, which I don't necessarily believe that we have to do those hard close either. That's definitely wasn't my style as well. So I think that's great that you had that awareness around it. Also highlights as well, I think the importance, Ashleigh, that you had that property management experience.
Yeah.
So you were also able to wear your property management hat when you're going into your appraisals, whereas a BDM who hasn't perhaps had property management experience before and is just going for that sale or that closing that deal
Yeah.
perhaps wouldn't have the same perspective that you do on that side. Would you agree with that?
100%. I think for me, like a lot of you hear a lot of the time in the industry that property managers aren't good BDMs because they're such different roles. And it couldn't have been further from the truth for me personally. I think they are very different roles, and you do have to have a certain, you've definitely got to have the ability to sort of let things go a little bit easier. But for me, I had so much knowledge in that space that um, I really like. I could. I guess it was a way of gloating without gloating. Like I could sort of flounce that with people. Like if somebody asked me something, I made sure I knew the answer, and if I didn't, I came back to them pretty quickly. Whereas a lot of BDMs who come into the industry, if they've come from a sales role or somewhere else, they often don't know anything about, say, the legislation or things like that, and that's where I think your knowledge is power, and the more you know, the better you'll be. And I think that's something that, like, if I was training a BDM in my industry, I would 100% get them to shadow the property managers for a day and make sure that they're in the office with the property managers, and that they're learning from them, because at the end of the day they're the ones who are doing the work. So you've got to know the product you're selling.
Yeah. Many BDMs are actually struggle with identifying what matters most to their
Yeah.
ideal clients. So, what tips would you give to BDMs who perhaps don't understand what their ideal clients want to be able to connect better with their marketplace?
I think again, having that property management experience probably gave me that ability, because you may have a client who is Joe Blog, has got 20 properties, doesn't like spending money on the properties. So at that point, you want to figure out, well, okay, that person's probably, they've got 20 properties, so they're probably not too worried about what the fees are. They want someone who's going to work in with them and be relaxed and have a communication style that works, that they're not getting, bombarded with stuff every single second of the day. Whereas you might have mum and dad who have moved out of their family home, and they're downsizing, and they're not ready to get rid of their family home, and so you're trying to understand what the connection is there. They've got an emotional value, so for them, they're going to be more happy to spend money if they know that they can trust the people who are looking after that home, and that person really understands what they need from their tenants. So it is really about, at each in every presentation you go to, taking the time to understand that person, their story. The first thing I say when I walk in is like, oh, it's so exciting. What are your next steps? What are your plans? And I just want to hear about them for a little bit, and you've got to be willing to listen. The team that I used to work for, they used to take the mickey out of me all the time, because I could spend 2 hours at a presentation, and I'm not saying do that, because it
Yeah.
is, you don't want to
Right.
waste
Yeah.
time, but for me, like, I just love yarning to people and getting to know people, and I think people can, once they feel comfortable enough sharing that, then you do have you've got the upper hand, really, because you're able to help suit their needs, and it's not
Yeah.
coming from a disingenuine place. It's just understanding, you might have 5 property managers, and all 5 of those property managers may look after the portfolio differently. So you want to be able to match that up with the right person and things like that.
Absolutely. I felt that deeply because it's like you can see and you can tell when someone's walls go down. You can
Yeah.
just like sense that. And I think that is I still to this day is one of the biggest rewards, I think, when you're sitting with someone and you can just see them just relax and you're like, okay, we've built that trust and connection. I think that's just so rewarding, and as a BDM to be able to connect with someone that level. And I don't know about you, Ashley, but like I made friends with some of my landlords because we had such great connections. And I think that's amazing that we get to meet so many people, and some that become like, friends or family. It's
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah, I love that too. And I think you can't fake that. And I think sometimes that, there's that age-old question like what makes you different to other BDMs? And I think for some people it is you've either got it or you don't. If you're going into it and you're not gonna it's not like sales, it's not a transaction, it's a long-term relationship, and you do have to be able to be relatable and put people at ease. It's their largest investment. And it's crazy to me that there are people who come into it and don't have those intentions, because it's kind of
Yeah.
scary to think like you could be handing that over to your investment over to someone who just actually doesn't care.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's such a key factor that you've just mentioned there is care. And I think there needs to be more of that in our profession. And so I'm glad like people like you know, exist that you can tell you've got that passion, that true care. And I'm sure that that's why it's your business THG is going to be so successful. And on that, Ashleigh, I do want to touch base. So one of the components that I teach in my program is called Journey to Success. So I want to dive deep into your journey to success because your career trajectory has been incredible. Because you started as an assistant property manager, then you went into property management, BDM. Now you've got your own business. What has been the key to your success?
Um, I think you have to be open-minded. I think if the worst people in property management are the ones who think they know everything, because
Mm.
you can't, and you do have to be, willing to be adaptable and to change. But in all honesty, like, and it's huge in the BDM role, you have to believe in yourself.
Mm.
Um, you need people who support and believe in you 100%, but you have to believe in you. And there's definitely been times in my career where I've sort of questioned my abilities, but the more, it sounds a little bit egotistical, but the more awards I got, the more I was like, actually, I think I'm kind of good at this. And so
Yeah.
I think then you start to believe in yourself more and you trust yourself. And the more you trust yourself, then your clients can trust you too.
Mm.
Um, I was really lucky at Ray White to have so much support, and they did really believe in me. But I worked hard for that too. I proved that I could do the job. I in every role I've been into, I've wanted to be the best that I can be. And that's for my clients. It's not about me. So you've kind of got to take that selfishness out of it. It's easy to get wound up in, the figures and the numbers and stuff. But, and don't get me wrong, like you have a big month and you bring in like 20 odd properties or something and you're on like a high. It's amazing. It's an
Yeah.
incredible feeling. But it's actually you've got to strip it back, and we talked about it before. It's finding out your why, and if you know what your why is and you know that you're passionate, then that will shine through in every role that you do. So yeah, I think having that support and that belief in yourself is really important, but most importantly is just remembering that we're all human, and especially in property management, you're dealing with a very vast range of people. So take the chip off your shoulder, and trust that we're all human. We've all got lives. We've all got shit going on, and work with that and be adaptable.
Beautifully said. I don't need to add any more to that. And I just want to touch though, because you have won multiple awards, which is just phenomenal. Had you always had a goal to win awards, Ashleigh?
um, Not really. I am very competitive. I know that I'm competitive. I think so. When I started, I was only 21 and I genuinely didn't know anything about property management. I was like, I don't know what an appraisal is, anything like that. So I was kind of like, why the heck have they hired me? But anyway, I'll take this. So I started as an assistant, and then my first award was New Start Property Manager of the Year. And when I got that, I just was like, I don't know, I guess for me, I had this sense of accomplishment and I just loved it. And I think in New Zealand, we have this tall poppy thing, and you're kind of like pushed down, and it's like, let's cut them down. And we shouldn't be proud of those things. But I was really proud of it.
Yeah,
And my
great.
parents were proud of me. And I loved that feeling of you know, um, making the people around me proud as well. So that kind of set it off. And then I won property manager of the year, and then the next big one I got was international property manager of the year. And for working for a company like Ray White, like that's massive, and you go
Yeah.
up on the stage and there's so many people, and like I'm a twin, so I've had to compete
Oh,
for attention my whole life. So
yeah.
I'm like, this is amazing, I don't have to compete, like this is, yeah. So I think it's a hard one because I kind of sometimes I do feel like I shouldn't talk about it because it's not, I shouldn't, it's not about the award at the end of the day, like that's just the bonus. But I am proud of myself, and I did work hard to do that. And I think the interesting thing when I won the international award, it gave me a lot of visibility in the industry.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing for me was the people that were reaching out to find out like what I did or what the secret was, none of them asked me anything about how I interacted with clients. It was like, what do you do in terms of processes? Or like, I didn't do anything amazing in terms of it. I'm actually terrible with technology and things like that. All I did was like connect with people. And if you do that with a genuine heart, the rest will follow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's always interesting.
We call it the humble brag, because I think I do know some others that are hesitant to share, their successes. Ultimately, though, we want to work with people that do trust us, and winning awards is a reflection of the hard work that has gotten to be able to celebrate that achievement. And I think, yeah, there can be some shame or judgment around, oh, well, she's sharing about her award, but that's just a testament to the hard work and the dedication and the grit that you do every single day to service your clients, right? So
Yeah.
I think, yeah, humble brag BDMs. Like if you've won some awards or you're doing some amazing things, share it, because more people need to see how much that we do in our profession and how much we do help clients, especially if you've saved them money or you've made them a lot of money. So spread the news, BDMs. So now your next step, and that's, being the founder of THD Property Management. It's a bold step. And I remember when I went out and created Rise, everyone's like, oh, yeah, so you've got lots of courage and, risky move. And there was just a lot of different like noise and comments. But I want to find out, Ashleigh, what's inspired you to take that leap, and how has it shaped your perspective on the industry as well with where you're at now?
Um, yeah, good question. I I am really passionate about what I do, and I love. I've I'm a bit crazy. Like my brain is mental. There's always something going on, and so it's been quite hard for me to sort of quieten that down because I'm working for somebody else, and I'm adhering by their rules or what they need. So I sort of started to get itchy feet and feel like I needed a bit more creative control. But I guess the biggest thing for me was my mum actually passed away a couple of years ago, and I just realized that life is so short. Like you only get one chance at it, and I didn't want to one day get to a point where I was like, I wish I tried that. I wish I did it. Because I just knew it was something I had to do at some point. I knew that I would at some point get there. It was just a matter of time as to when. And yeah, so that's been massive for me. It's about, yeah, really living your life and doing those things that make your soul dance, really, and having that creative control, and like I said before, making my parents proud. Like I think my mum's quite a conservative, or my family are quite conservative. My dad's been a firefighter for 40 something years, so they're quite like happy to just chill and do the same thing, but I didn't want that for myself. And so I think for them it would have been quite scary. My mum would have been like, don't do it, don't do it. But I think now, seeing where I'm at and how happy and excited I am to be able to bring that bring my energy to my clients, that's me. It is authentically me. Yeah, I'm quite excited about that.
Oh, I got chills. Well, condolences for your mum, but there's
Thank you.
always a silver lining. Like my partner's parents are both deceased, and he always often says like he doesn't know if he would be where he is today if his parents hadn't passed away, and
Yeah.
that's just the reality of it. Like that was a driver towards what he's done and how he's shaped his life. And I think you also, and tell me if this resonates, Ashleigh, but there's a new level of gratitude towards life when you experience, your parents passing away or a parent passing away. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think I yeah, 100%. And like yeah, I mean, I was working in the BDM role, and I think um for me it was quite a eye opener in terms of like I had to show up to work. I'd like bawl my eyes out on the way after mum passed away. I came back to work a week later and I was like driving to an appraisal, just bawling my eyes out. And then I started talking to this. I collected myself and went in and did the appraisal and put my face on and started talking to this client. And she was so like open and honest, and she started telling me about all of her, like what was going on in her life. And I hadn't said anything about mum at all at that point.
Mhm.
um but I realized like it can always be worse. Like there's always there's always going to be something in life, and it's the same as starting your own business. Like there will always be something that's not right. It would be easy for the amount of people who have said to me, "Oh, you're 31. Don't you want to have kids soon?" Like, probably not a good idea. Like, I'm like, "Oh well, at least my kids will look at me and they'll be proud of the decisions that I made." So usually, if it's scary, it's probably good for us.
Oh yes. Oh, I love that line. I love that line. Through all of the our conversation today, Ashleigh, I definitely have just I have felt it, and obviously I can see you talking now, but your attitude and just your positivity, and I really can feel that passion. I'm sure the listeners and watchers will also sense that. So I know that just by our conversations, and I don't know you to the depths of like your friends and family would, that your attitude would definitely have shaped your success as a BDM and will continue to shape your success in your business. So how do you continue to approach just life and business with this mindset that you have?
Um, Lots of wine. I think, like, I guess comes back to the conversation that we just had. Like, you do have to show up and you've got to choose to show up. I think if you come into a BDM role and you have the expectation of, I'll just go do the job and leave and then that'll be it, like, I've been to appointments or appraisals where I don't want to be there. I'd rather be like, there was a time where all I wanted to do was just be in bed and cry. But you get up and you do it and you get on with life. And I think, yeah, it's about choosing every single day to making a decision to yourself and to your clients, and to your company that you're working for as well. I I think, I had some really good advice when I started in the BDM role, and it was sort of like, do you get up and go to the gym in the morning? Cool, that's your first win.
Mm.
Because you do get knocked down a lot. And if you've got a month where you're not bringing in many properties, you start getting really down on yourself, and it's easy to get that negative self talk in there. So
Yeah.
you've got to celebrate the little wins, like going to the gym or going for a walk or calling your mum and telling her you love her. Like those little things will help you in how you present with your clients too, because
Yeah.
you will be looking naturally at the more positive things rather than the negative things. And don't get me wrong, I definitely, like, especially in property management, there's days when I come in and I'm like, like, can't believe I had to deal with that person. But not all business is good business, and that's another choice you get. You don't have to work with every client. So
Yeah,
yeah, I think that's
absolutely.
important. Celebrate the wins.
Yeah, I think winning attitude every day. So, and as a BDM, I find that a lot of the time we can concentrate on wins as just being like listing a property, but there's so many other small wins. It's like the fact that someone even picked up the phone, perhaps when you're doing like your cold calling, the fact that you've had a really good appraisal and you've had a really great connection and conversation with someone, the fact that maybe, like you said, you got up and you went to the gym, or at the end of the day, you're walking your dog and the sun is shining. Like there's so many things that we can embrace. So I think it's having that winning attitude every day and also being consistent. with
Yeah.
that. And that's how you instill those habits or routines, not just in your life, but in your mind. Because in a sales role, I believe one of the key skills that we can have is actually how we can view our mindset, right?
Yeah.
How we show up and how we make those choices and how we, like you said, we can choose to be positive. We can choose to celebrate those wins and we can choose to have control of our days, or we could just stay in bed and maybe turn up to work and go, oh, I don't want to be here, and oh, the whole day is going to be shit. So it's
Yeah.
being consistent with that attitude, I think, is a really key for BDMs. And um, I think especially when we're also working in an environment of other people, because your energy is contagious. So if you're not having a winning attitude, then you're most likely going to be having an impact and an influence on those around you. And then I would question also when you're rocking up to an appraisal and speaking with someone, check in with your energy. Like, how is that going to play out?
100%. I feel this so deeply because, like, there's always someone in the office. There's always that one person who just makes you feel like shit. I feel like there's just in every office, there's someone there that just doesn't like their job. They don't want to be there, and it rolls off onto you. And I think I would hate to be that person. That would be like my worst nightmare. But also, like, every single person that you interact with is potentially a client for you. And if you're turning up to work unhappy, turning up to the supermarket unhappy, like as soon as you get out of your branded car, you are representing that brand. So you should show up in that capacity. And you know, like we had so our at Ray White, the property managers or the team are incentivized to bring in new managements as well, which meant that they didn't have to refer business to me. And there's one girl in the office who, like, she probably sent me 4 or 5 referrals over her time of like friends and family that she got me to sign them up because she trusted and loved me and loved my energy and loved what I did for the clients.
Yeah.
Well, she could have, I mean, I would flick her a referral fee, but she could have 100% done it
Yeah.
herself and got more money for it. So it's yeah, it's an interesting thing. And I think people forget that,
Mm.
how you show up is really important.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as well, it's, I'm really big on that personal and professional development. So it's like, yeah, we always got to check in and in with our internal world to make sure that, well, is our internal world going to match our external world? I think that's really important because if you're not feeling good, chances are you're not going to show up in the best version of yourself either.
Yeah.
Actually, I also just realized I think we both have key tattoos
Yes.
on our, yeah. Just while we're chatting, but like looking at each other, so I was like, oh, there you go. So
Yeah.
much synergy.
Yeah, yeah. Mine's actually my 21st key. I got that, and
Oh, yeah.
it's actually a lot bigger than I probably would have liked. So
Oh, and
it's
special. Me and my best friend, we got matching tattoos because we initially thought, oh, one of them will get the lock and the other one will get the key, but we both didn't want the lock, so we just got matching keys instead.
oh no
People
one.
used to ask me, like clients, oh, what's with the key? And so I just represents like how passionate I am about the real estate industry.
I've definitely been asked that too, and I
Yeah.
have thought about it. I'm like, oh, it is a little bit ironic, isn't
Yeah,
it?
that's it. I've absolutely loved our chat, Ashley. But to finish off, I would love to just pick your brain and, what advice would you give for any aspiring BDM? So whether it's someone who's just starting out, or perhaps it's someone that's been doing it for a long time and has just lost their spark. What's some secret sauce that you can give them?
I reckon, first of all, finding what your why is and why you're passionate about it and why you're even doing it in the first place.
Yeah.
And I actually think checking in with that constantly, if you've been in it for a while and you've lost your spark, then potentially you've forgotten what your why is, or maybe your why has changed and it doesn't align with what your why is now. Um, and I think the more the better you'll be. And when I did win some of those awards, like it's always been said to me that you are at every single training session you can get your hands on, and you're always doing something new or listening to different podcasts and things like that. So I think keep learning, learn off the sales agents in your office, learn off your administrators, how they answer the phone. Like everything you do, there's an opportunity to learn in that moment. So be open to that, and be humble.
I love it. Thank you so much, Ashleigh, for joining me. It's been an absolute pleasure. There's so many takeaways from this. So BDMs, like reach out to Ashleigh and thank her for her insights, her knowledge, her wisdom, and her passion. I cannot wait to continue to watch you on your journey, Ashleigh. And I've got no doubts that because of your strengths and your skills and just how passionate you are, it will be an absolute success. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks so much for the opportunity.
And as always, team, keep rising.